It's time for the Douglas Coleman Show. Smooth and Savvy is joined by some of the hottest talent in the entertainment industry, from musicians to authors and all those in between. And now, ladies and gentlemen, here he is, Mr. Smooth and Savvy himself, Douglas Coleman.
Ha. Welcome to the Douglas Coleman Show. It's me, Douglas Coleman. Thank you for joining us. Nice to have you here. Rahn Anthoni is with us today. Rahn Anthoni is a musician, singer-songwriter who has written a couple of great tracks that we're going to be playing a little bit later. He has a rather heartbreaking story to tell about his special needs son who died at the hands of abuse, allegedly, by one of his son's teachers. But Ron's story is a story of overcoming a tragedy like that and taking that energy and doing something positive with it. So Ron will tell us his story. He's up first, followed by producer, director, Sarah Ivy. Sarah's new film, Do You Dream in Color, chronicles the life of several blind high school students and gives you an in-depth idea of what their daily routines are like and what their life is like. She will be up second. Not a lot of time to chit-chat. We will be right back with Rahn Anthoni. Okay, please welcome my guest, Rahn Anthoni. Hi, Ron. How are you?
I'm good, and you, sir?
Oh, very good. Thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. You are what do I want to call you? You're a musician.
Yes, a musician, vocalist, advocate. I'm all of it. All in one.
And you've done some television, it looks like. You were on BET.
Yes.
Okay, tell me a little about that one. Star Power. You were on Star Power.
I did the Star Power, yes. It was a show that was aired on BET. And I started with a company with Prodigy Production, and I was headed toward being a vocalist on a label. And while I wait until they get the spots and all of that, they say, well, you know what? Why don't you just do this show until we get, because when you're an artist, they put you on the shelf. So while I was on the shelf, I was being a host, which was really great because it helped me to really be able to talk in front of people and interview different celebrities. And from that point, from hosting, I never knew I would still be doing it because I did the Oscars and twice the Oscars red carpet and a lot of different award shows like the Stella Awards, which is a gospel award show. And it's just, and now, I like doing it. So I just fit in now and it feels good.
So Star Power, I haven't seen the show. What kind of a show is it?
It's kind of like different artists would come on. I would start off singing, and then I would be like, this is Ron, you're welcome to Star Power, kind of like that. And we have the stars for you. And we have a star today. And then I would interview that star. They would perform and tell their good, bad, and ugly, how they got started and all that type of stuff. And we would show videos at that time. And so now, they did away with the show, and then they start creating all these other things, and which is good. So it was kind of geared for the celebrities that were already established.
So like an interview talk show type thing, yeah?
Right. Interview talk show. They had dancing, like you have segments where you would dance, like different people in the crowd, you would just dance, kind of like a American Bandstand type too mixed in. Or
Soul
how
Train.
they used to have those shows. Yes.
Yeah, that was, I like those shows actually.
Yes.
I always thought the music was better on Soul Train, but
yeah.
But American Bandstand had a couple of good bands, but
that was more mainstream type. Yeah.
Yeah, it was more mainstream.
The old school.
Yeah, Soul Train had the Aretha Franklin and
yes.
Mary Wilson of the Supremes, and they had all this great sort of Motown music that I always loved. Let's see. Now, you're also the CEO of WMQG Radio. Tell us a little about the radio station.
Well, with the radio station, we deal with special needs. It's WMTGradio.com. We're the source for. We bring you a lot of music, old school music. We mix it all together, old school, new school, country, all genres. We just play it all so we can have a whole different, everybody is listening. And so what I do, I have a show. I just left my show. It's called Special Needs Rock, and I talk about a lot of great topics that's dealing with special needs and also to help people. Like today, we just do things like talked about health and where they're making so much money with the health and it's really not doing as much for us, the health prescriptions and all of that, the prescriptions, how much it costs and all of that. You know, I give a lot of awareness so people know what's going on behind the scenes. And we deal with different personalities. They have causes like adoption. Then you have the child support segment and gives you all the details. And we play old school, new school music, all country, everything. So it really benefits the people. I am like the snitch for special needs.
The snitch, huh? Okay.
I am the snitch. Yes. I tell you what's going on.
Well, you brought up special needs, and there's a story that goes along with that for you personally about your son, and I want to get into that, but what I'd like to do is to play Hold On, and then after, when we come back from the music, then you can tell us the story, rather tragic story about your son, okay?
Yes. So, okay, thank you.
So this is Hold On by Rahn Anthoni.
Sometimes in life, the rain does fall, and you feel like you want to give in. The sky seems so far when reaching for the stars, but I believe you'll find joy if you reach for the Lord and hold on. Trials make you stronger. Hold on. It won't last for long. Hold on. It's almost gone. You can make it if you just hold on. You can make it if you just hold on. My body was down, my mind was torn. Death came to me, and I held on. The light I did see at the end of my journey. Thought I was going away, but he said not today. There's work to be done. Your race is not over. Come on, my child, and be strong. I'm telling you to hold on. Your trials make you stronger. Hold on. It won't last for long. Hold on. It's almost gone. You can make it if you just hold on. You can make it if you just hold on. I believe that your problems are not too hard for you to bear. Just remember, when you face tragedy, have faith just believe. You hold on. Triumph make you stronger. Hold on. It won't last for long. Hold on. It's almost gone. You can make it if you just hold on. Hold on, hold on. It won't last for long. Hold on. It's almost gone. You can make it if you just hold on. You can make it if you just hold on. You can make it if you just hold on.
Oh, very nice.
Thank you. Yes.
You came through Michael Stover, who is an acquaintance of mine, and I've booked several of his musical acts on the show. When I get submissions from Michael, I never listen to the music before the show because I know the music is going to be really good, and I want to have my reaction fresh on the show. You know, if I get cold
Right.
submissions to the show, obviously I will listen to them before, to make sure that they're good enough to play on the air. But yeah, that was super. Not quite what I was expecting, though. I was expecting a more kind of hip hoppy sort of thing, but
No. Yeah. Just to say, Michael, he is the best.
yeah, Michael's a great
it's
guy.
it's amazing to have people like that, and I keep them with me.
Yeah. Michael has sent me some very, very talented musicians from the whole spectrum, from rock and roll to country artists, and every one of them has just been a 10. One thing about your song, I've noticed the background. Do you have a choir in the background that you're singing with?
Yes. It's like a well, actually, it's the guy that him and his wife actually helped produce this song, so they made it like a choir.
Oh, okay. Oh, all right. So it's overdubbed, right? You've multi-layered it. Okay. Well, that's cool. That's acceptable, certainly. The other thing I was thinking of, have you had any success with that song for sync licensing for movies? Because that really has that kind of the song it reminded me of was the Peter Cetera song. You remember the Hero song, right?
Yes. I haven't. I'm open to it. I know I've been dealing with Michael, and I've submitted it to certain things just recently. But yes, I'm open to that because it's that song. It ties into what I had to do for myself. I had to write that for myself so I wouldn't lose my mind in what I was going through.
Right.
And so it really, I wrote that for me, for other people to experience, how you really have to hold on.
It has that element. It has all the ingredients for one of those big sort of epic kind of Rocky type movie.
Thank you.
To use, you know what I mean? It would be a perfect song for that.
Yes, I'm going to take that and run so I can get, I'll get with Michael because he's been helping me a lot with that, and that I will do it.
Yeah, definitely.
Thank you.
All right, yeah. So let's talk about your son. Let's talk about what happened. His name was Aaron Hatcher.
Aaron Hatcher. Yes.
And
well,
he was a special needs child.
Yes.
What exactly were his special needs?
Well, Aaron, he was like a baby. He was he couldn't walk or talk, and he was wheelchair bound, so he couldn't do anything. We had to do everything for him, and he was the type of child that you would know what he wanted from his expression and his eyes, and you could tell that he was very genuine. And only time that he would really like cry or get upset if he's hungry or something he's trying to convey to us. And my son, he was abused in the Fulton County School District twice. The first time we didn't know about it at Hopewell Middle School. We didn't know anything about it. Me and my family, my wife, we didn't know. We would just take him, and for 6 years, about 5 or 6 years, they were abusing him. And he was abused with other kids. So they were thrown up against, he was thrown out of the wheelchair. We didn't know that. We just knew that his hip was out of place or broken. So we didn't know. We just took him to the doctor. And along with the other kids, the teacher passed gas. This was done by a teacher now. Passed gas in his face. They played his cries back, and they put him in a room by himself with the lights off. And, it was really like a torture. So one day I came up to the school, me and my mom and his grandmother, to surprise Aaron, but we were surprised. But we didn't know anything at the time. I was like, why is he in the room by himself? And so I kind of like got all riled up, and then they said they fixed it, they apologized, but I still got him out of the teacher's room because it just didn't feel right. And so they did all these things, and they kept it away from us. So what happened, they actually told one of the parents, and they tried to pay her off so that she wouldn't tell any of the other parents. And so when my son was abused again in the Fulton County School District in Georgia, at Roswell, this alleged abuse, this teacher, the same exact district. So I realized that it's got to be a culture. So this teacher, I saw bruises on his neck, and he was in high school. And so what she did, she took a back brace and ripped it apart. And because with the kids with special needs or with cerebral palsy, they grow to the right. So she made him look at her and strapped it with that back brace around his neck with a belt, and it cut off it damaged his airwaves because he had muscular dystrophy as well. And so throughout the process and learning all of this, we had a nurse and all of these type of things. The nurse had told us, what was going on. And one day I had to go up to the school. She just said, you need to get up here. So I went to the school and I saw it myself. So this is nothing that I made up, or this actually happened. And I took pictures of it, and then it was too late to get the doctors. I did take the letter, ask the doctor to write a letter so that the teacher could stop it, because in the state of Georgia, you can't take your child out of school or you go to jail. And so during that time, in the midst of that, he died. And he died. And, and we're still going through the legal part of it. And in the state of Georgia, the teachers get immunity, and there are no cameras in the classroom up until this happened, that I fought so hard with Lala Dunson and Representative Stovall, who's with the House of Representatives, and we got cameras in the classroom now. So I'm working on the immunity law so that if any of these kids are abused and it's proven, then you're held accountable. And it just changed my life. It didn't change it. I took all of my energy that, I was bad, upset, and ready to strike back physically, but I took all that energy and I put it into other people so that I could change things and be able to stay on the outside instead of going in the system, going to jail or to prison. And so during that part, I had a heart attack and had open heart surgery.
Oh my God.
So it was a mess. It was a mess. And that's why I'm so adamant about, the petition I got out now, people can sign it so we can change the immunity laws. And I'm so into helping people, even more now because I don't have my son with me. And that's my life now. And I want to say this. I forgot that I was a singer. I totally forgot. I was so into, trying to make it right and fighting and with the law and legislation. And I've never even dealt with the Senate and the House of Representatives until now. And so I forgot. And so I started a song which called They Can't Talk But We Can, and the one Hold On, and the one that you're going to play, I'll Trust You. And I put it together. I was like, okay, I'm a singer, so let me just try to get back to doing this. And I'll just use this to bring awareness, like on your show. And it's helping me to heal. I'm in my healing process. I'm, when you feel angry or anything like that, I put more into this. That's why I was so excited when you called, because you're helping me heal.
Well, listen, that's the least I can do. That story is just absolutely heartbreaking. I want a couple of questions, though. How old was your son when he died?
Aaron, when he was in the middle of 17 and 18. So he was turning, he was right there at that point, at the end of 17, and then when he died, he was 18.
With his particular condition, did he grow or did he stay small, or?
Well, he did grow. He was very tall.
He was very tall.
He was tall.
Okay.
He was the regular height. It's just that his mental, he couldn't walk or talk. Very smart, but the only thing, he just could not walk or talk.
So he couldn't fight back?
No, couldn't fight back. He couldn't even tell us.
Wow. Ugh.
So he endured a lot.
And these teachers, it's not been proven that they caused his death, or?
They admit to what had happened, but because we never went to like a trial or anything, I have to say alleged, because we're still in litigation as far as civil. But the criminal in Georgia, to me, it's okay. That's what I'm working on, to amend that, because it's not okay. I mean, when you admit to it, then you should be prosecuted. But because of the Georgia laws, you can't be prosecuted criminally.
That's insane. I mean, they should be in jail. That's
yes,
wow.
And it's documented. It's tapes. See, I knew this when I got the tape after Aaron passed away. What happened 6 years ago? I have evidence from all the teachers that were. You see, what they did, they did a internal investigation and covered it up. And so when they went to this one parent, she wouldn't take their money. And so she told us, and she sent me all the tapes, the evidence, and that's when I had a heart attack. Oh. And, because I started feeling like I should have known this, and it's my fault, and this and that, and he tried to tell us by crying all the time. I went through all of it, and it was just nothing that we could do.
Wow. So where are you at with this now? What's your next step as far as getting some kind of, I don't want to say compensation, but justice? Right. For Aaron?
Well, really, only thing that we are able to do now is the litigation is for civil. And I mean, they tried, but I just wouldn't do it. I mean, I wouldn't settle, because I got to talk. I got to tell it. So we're still in litigation, and that part is, what I did, I was very smart about this. I told my attorneys, I don't want to know nothing what you all are doing. You all handle it. I'm going to make sure that as long as you all allow me to go out and just talk about this and try to do what I can to help other people. So with the litigation, I really honestly don't even know what they're doing. I just know we're pretty much at the end of it. But as far as anything like that, I just told them I didn't want to know. Just tell me when it's over, because I want to be able to go out and talk about this.
That is
No.
amazingly compassionate and very commendable of you. I don't think a lot of people would have that kind of strength to do that. I think that in a lot of people's situations, they would have just fallen to pieces or went into the school with a gun, or you know what I mean? They would have done something crazy. And the fact that you were...
But you know...
Go ahead.
You know what I did? My craziness, I started WMQT radio station because they wouldn't help me. And I started talking about it. And the people in the States, a lot of the people around me wouldn't help. So I started that. So people around the country started helping me. I started the Aaron Hatcher They Can't Talk, But We Can, 501c3 organization, and where we give awards to the special needs every year. This is going on our third year in October, and that's what's keeping me from losing it. Because I can't say that I want to give up, because, I can't say, because it comes, and sometimes I do, but because I see these kids and they roll across the red carpet, or they walk across the red carpet, and so many times I wish Aaron could be there. But I feel that I'm doing something in his honor, and that keeps me going.
Wow,
and it
beautiful.
Keeps me from, finding the person. But it keeps me sane. And so that's what I love, and that's why I'm so glad to do this. And a lot of people, they kept telling me, you're so passionate about it. And, honestly, I didn't even understand the word. I was just like, I don't understand anything. I just know I need to do this, and it's the right thing to do.
I think it is tremendously
thank you.
Commendable. I don't know what other word to use. I'm kind of speechless because it takes a very strong man to do what you're doing. Like I said, a lot of people just would have fallen apart.
Yes.
But you took that, all of that negative energy and all of that trauma and channeled it somewhere positive.
Positive.
Right.
And I don't even know how I did it. I just knew I had to do it.
Well,
and what's so crazy is that the people live around me.
The teachers?
So imagine that. Yes.
Oh, my God.
Imagine that. So I was in a big test, and I passed it. And that's what I'm
certainly did.
I if all my life I always wanted to do something. And, growing up, it was like, you're so bad. You're just you're bad. You're going to get in trouble. You're going to do this. And look, now I won because I'm not so bad. I'm able to do things to help people. And I believe I went through all the things I went through just for this.
It's a hell of a way to get there, but you got there. Yeah.
Yes, I made it.
Yeah, well, God bless you.
And I really appreciate you all.
That's an incredible story, and hopefully something will come out of it where there'll be some peace. We got to get to your song. The song is called "I'll Trust You." You got to just give me a quick story on the song. I know it's dedicated to your son, but when did you write it?
Well, actually, I didn't write it. I couldn't write it
you didn't
because
write
of the
it.
pain. So I gave it to Fred Jerkins, who's Michael Jackson's producer.
Oh,
and he did the last song, Michael Jackson's last hit, and before he passed away. So he wrote the song for me. I emailed him the story. So this song is about a story about a man who lost his child. He had a heart attack and all these type of things. And this man is me. So when I sing it, I'm telling a story, so it doesn't affect me as much than me saying I. So this song is very powerful, and you'll be able to hear it now. It's called I Trust You, because the only thing that kept me alive is trusting the power, the energy of God when I didn't want to.
All right. Well, let's have a listen to that. So you're singing this one, right?
Yes, I am singing it. Yes.
Okay. The song is called I'll Trust You, sung by Rahn Anthony. written and produced by Freddie Jerkins III.
Jerkins.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Here we go.
I'll trust you. There was a story about a man who lost his child. He cherished that young one till the day he took his last breath. He was so special, you see he had to fight all his days and nights. But Daddy loved him anyway. I love him. His disease was only a phase, but something was bigger than the tears he cried. And only a father could hear the words that were unspoken. Fast forward. Even though he's in a better place, the thought still makes him cry all day. That's when he looks up in the sky and says, oh God, I still trust you. This may be the hardest thing for me to do, but I will. I still trust you. I know it's only a test, but I want you to know I'll trust you. I'll trust you. He thought it was all over. He thought the pain would come no more. Just when he thought that it was time to move on, the stress kept piling on and on. What can you do when your heart won't let you live? So I said, doctor, can you fix me? This is taking a toll. I'm in need of your experience to make me whole again, to put me back together. And while you're working on me, I will put my trust in the only one that knows what's better for me. And I'll start by saying, Lord, I still trust you. This may be the hardest thing for me to do, but I will. I still trust you. I know it's only a test, but I want you to know I'll trust you. Just like Job, he came out on top of the world. God gave him to everything he ever lost. That was his reward for his faithfulness. God is not a man that he will lie. Look at how far you've come. Miracles have begun. Just like raising in the sun. Everything you've lost is finally here. And all that it took was your trust in him. And you don't have to wait for the bad. Just say it right now, Lord, I still trust you. This may be the hardest thing for me to do, but I will. I still trust you. I know it's only a test, but I want you to know that I still trust you. This may be the hardest thing for me to do, but I will. I still trust you. I know it's only a test, but I want you to know I'll trust you.
Ah, that was fabulous. Really nice.
Thank you.
Both very powerful songs. Yeah, this one too could lend itself real nice to sync license in a major Hollywood production. I think you should get Michael on that. See if he can start sending these out because, yeah, that's real nice. Well, listen, we've got to cut this off, unfortunately, but hell of a story. And I can't tell you enough how just I'm sort of in awe of your ability to take all of that and make something positive at the end of it. I think that's tremendous.
Yes.
Best of
Thank
luck
you.
with everything that's going on, and I hope that the litigation gets resolved in some way or another.
Yes.
And thank you so much for coming on the show,
All
sharing your
right.
story with us.
Okay, and if people could go to iTunes and get the song, that's going to help for the special needs community, and I really would appreciate it.
Okay. And do you have a website?
Yes, it's RahnAnthony.com. That's RahnAnthoni.com. And also They Can't Talk, but We Can, Inc.org. And all social media with the Rahn Anthony spelling RahnAnthoni.
Okay, super. All right, Ron. Well, take care. Best of luck.
Thank you. Thank you, and I appreciate you all. Bye-bye.
You're listening to Mr. Smooth and Savvy right here on The Douglas Coleman Show. We'll be right back after these commercial messages.
Hi there, this is Stuart Epps from the UK, record producer, engineer. You might have heard of me. I've worked with artists from Elton John to Led Zeppelin to Bad Company, Twisted Sister, Robbie Williams, Oasis, many, many great bands and artists in the past and the present and hopefully in the future. But you can work with me as well. You know, all you got to do is get in touch with me on eppsmusicproductions.com. That's EWPSproductionsmusic.com. And I can help you with your productions and with your recordings. A lot of people do home recordings now, which you can only take so far. Maybe they need a bit of professional help. So get in touch with me and we can sort it out. And thanks for Douglas Coleman for giving me the spot. Thanks a lot. Cheers, bye.
DJC Music and DJC Productions are pleased to announce a brand new website. We have started a listing website for radio show hosts as well as potential show guests. This is a meeting site where hosts and guests can come together. Show hosts can list their show and types of guests they're interested in booking. Potential guests can list their talents, bio, accomplishments, or anything they feel makes them an interesting radio show guest. There are no recurrent payments, only a one-time $5 listing fee. Your listing will stay up until you decide to cancel. Previous guests of The Douglas Coleman Show are welcome to submit their guest listing free of charge. Go to radiohostsandguests.com. That's radiohostsandguests.com.
And now...
Hey, Rocky, watch me pull a rabbit out of my hat.
Again?
Nothing up my sleeve. Presto! Ooh, don't know my own strength.
Now here's something we hope you'll really like.
Okay, please welcome my guest, Sarah Ivy. Hi, Sarah. How are you?
Good. Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Now, your film is called Do You Dream in Color? On your bio, It didn't say exactly what your role in the film was. Did you direct it or produce it?
Oh, it didn't?
No.
That's bad. I'm a producer and a director on the project.
Oh, all right. So you produced and directed it. Okay.
Maybe I'll go ahead and clean up that bio for you all.
No, it just talked a little bit about you. It didn't really say what you did with the film. Before we get to the film, I just want to find out a little background on you. If you could just tell us a little about yourself and how you got to that point, and then we'll talk about the film.
Absolutely. I am a producer, director. I work in Los Angeles. I have done everything from working in development to production to whatever needs to get done on small films. I've worked at a lot at Warner Brothers. I've worked at Bruckheimer. I was a producer at a production company, and we did international unit and second unit shoots for television shows like Scandal and Covert Affairs, pilots, a lot of pilots, Royal Pains, things like that. So whenever if you would see the actors in Prague or wherever, that's what we would do. And so, I do a lot of that kind of stuff. And right now I'm in post-production on my next feature documentary. and gearing up to do a narrative film too.
I saw in your bio that you worked on Criminal Minds.
I did.
That is a great show. I'm a big fan of that show. That was fantastic. I like Joe Mantegna.
Joe Montana?
Montana.
Yeah, he was great. He started actually right after I started. I was there a long time ago, back in seasons 3 through 5, when the show was still fairly young.
Oh,
and
okay.
no, it was a really great thing when he came. Everybody was thrilled to have him on the show.
Yeah, I think he's a great actor. I've seen him in different things. House of Games was another one that he was in that I thought was fantastic. How did you get started with the Do You Dream in Color? What was it that got you interested in that project?
Well, so Abby and I went to USC Film School together, and there was a group of us when we graduated college. I feel like most people when they graduate film school, they're so worried about getting a job, and which is important. Don't get me wrong; everyone's got to pay the bills. But I feel like often lose focus of what they went to film school for, which is to make movies, and it's really hard to make a movie, especially a feature. And so after film school, there was a group of us that were like, we're going to figure out how to make something. We're not just going to talk about making stuff. We're going to actually make it. And so there was a group of like 3 or 4 of us, and we really would kick around different ideas. And one of the other co-producers on the project, he was like, I think we should talk to this organization for the blind that he's like, I have a connection to. And we started meeting with them. And when we met with the teenagers, it just seemed like such an obvious story. They're so great, so articulate, so interesting. And they talked about often being underestimated and injustices. And, we were going on like camping trips with them and volunteering and whatnot with their youth program. And so we could see how they were, when they were expected, when they just lived a normal life versus what they would talk about, maybe how they weren't always treated that way. And so it seemed like an obvious topic. And kind of once we started down that path, there was no stopping.
What year was the film made?
Well, we originally started filming at the end of 2009, and we shot for about 2.5 years after that. And then post-production went on for a couple years after. Independent films like this especially documentaries, usually take on average about 7 years to make. So we actually slid in under the average, which is good. And so.
Why does it take that long to make a documentary as opposed to a feature film? Because I've interviewed many independent filmmakers, and I asked them, well, how long did it take you to make the film? Well, we shot for 2 weeks. I mean, that's that's what I get a lot of times.
Right.
They did it in 2 or 3 weeks. Why did this take so long to do?
Absolutely. So documentaries typically take longer to film. It depends on your subject, but most of the time you're following people over a course of time. So your narrative films that you come in and they say we shot in 2 weeks. Well, they already started with a script. So they probably spent anywhere from like a month to 4 years writing a script, depends on, the writing process and what happened with the script. So they already spent time to develop the arc and the story, and there's a beginning, middle, end, and they knew exactly where their main character started and where their main character's story was going to end. So they know what story they're going to tell before they go in and shoot. And then they have actors who know how to, interpret a scene and have already been working with the director. Like when they talk about a 2-week shoot, they probably did rehearsals for 2 to 4 weeks before shooting. So they have the blueprint when they go in. When you follow people in real life, that blueprint doesn't quite exist. I mean, we always kind of had an idea of where the kids' stories were going, but we didn't have. You never know for sure because life happens, and when you have real life, things don't always go as planned, as everybody knows. And that was a big part of it. So originally we thought we'd film for like 1.5 years, but it didn't, just because as we were following, it didn't seem to make sense to stop when we were originally planning. So we extended it because we wanted those solid beginning, middle, ends for the characters and Do You Dream in Color as well. And that's a lot of the reason why it takes time. And you don't film, it's not like we filmed every day for 2.5 years. We would film for a week, or we'd go for, if the kids were local. Sometimes we just film for a day. We'd grab a certain event, and then, we wouldn't film again for another 2 weeks, depending on what was happening in everybody's lives.
Well, that's a good point you bring up, because you're right. You don't know where it's going to go. and you don't know what's going to happen to them. And it takes time to tell a complete story. Otherwise, you're just going to have, a half an hour or something of their life. Where if you want to tell, okay, they did this, they did that. The one I'm thinking of is the girl that wanted to go study abroad. And she ended up getting Spain, but she really wanted Portugal. So that whole process would have taken time. Right. Okay, I get it.
Right.
Yeah, that makes sense. There were a couple of great lines in that film. I really liked your film, by the way. I watched it. I thought it was
Thank you.
It was really good. It was very intriguing.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
A couple of lines that stuck with me from that film. She said, being blind is a way of life. You don't have the option of looking at things from afar. I thought that was fantastic. That one really stuck with me because for blind people, they would have to, right? They couldn't just take for granted things kind of flowing by your eyes, like people who can see. They really have to concentrate on everything that they're trying to see without eyes, I guess would be a way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely. And Sarah's so intelligent and introspective and has a really beautiful way of speaking and sharing her thoughts. So that's she added some really thoughtful moments in the film, absolutely, and she articulates very well very high level concepts for someone her age.
Well, how old was she when she would have been like high school or something when you filmed that, right?
They were all in high school. She, I believe, was 16 to 17 when we filmed with her. She actually just got married.
Oh, no kidding.
She's a grown-up now.
Wow.
Yeah, I went to her wedding this summer. She's 24 now.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Something like that, yeah.
The other one that I thought was amazing, that probably a lot of people thought was amazing, was the skateboarder.
Connor, yeah, he's fun.
Connor. Just the idea that somebody could skateboard blind is truly amazing. But he said something interesting, too, that made me think, where he said he skates using a sort of echolocation as his guide, where he can hear the wheels coming close to a wall or coming close to something, and he knows to turn away. It's still scary to me. I mean, the idea of skateboarding with my eyes is scary enough, but doing it without, I mean, I would be terrified. I couldn't do that. There's no way. It's like driving with your eyes closed.
I skateboard a little bit, and I wouldn't drop in on a lot. I can't do the stuff Connor does. I can cruise around, but then that's good enough for me. So I'm with you on that.
No, he was completely amazing. One sort of sad part of the film was at the end, it said 70% unemployment rate for the blind.
Yeah, it's very high.
Why?
And a lot of it has to do.
Seems like they could have.
There's a couple of reasons.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay. There's a couple of reasons, and it actually starts. And the reason we included that fact is because it starts with education when they're kids. What the film addresses is that often kids are not pushed as hard as they need to be in high school to succeed against, with their sighted peers. Now you see stories like Nick, where he's very well set up and he has the program, and Sarah's program is great as well. But you see that they are pushed to actually perform and do the work that, their sighted peers are doing. And what happens is, and kind of what happened in Karina's story, is that it's more work for especially districts that aren't well set up for it. There's not a lot of education and information available for special education teachers if it's not something they've studied. The film actually is partnering with the National Federation of the Blind, and we just had a long conversation about it on the phone. And one of the things is that they are actually pushing teachers to work with the blind that aren't necessarily teachers that have a background in that. So they're not well equipped to work with the schools. And so if you end up with educators that aren't pushing you, and you have teacher upon teacher, they don't get very many blind students often, so they don't know exactly what the process is. And so what happens is these kids, they kind of give them a pass so things are easier, or they just say, don't worry about doing that work. Or the worst thing that we hear, and we've heard it a bunch of times, is that educators don't teach kids in Braille to read Braille. They will do things auditorily and read things to them, or do math auditorily with them. And that would be the equivalent of me going to school and not learning to read or write. It would be as if someone gave me all of my history lessons verbally, which is really is not an education. Like you can't form all the skills you need to do that. So what happens is once they get into high school, that's when they start to show the struggle. They can kind of pass along usually through middle school, but in high school is when it starts to really show if they haven't been given the education that they need to function. And so it automatically, like, school gets hard. A lot of kids have a lot of trouble once they hit high school. And then if they can't do that, it's hard to go to college. If you don't do well in high school, it's hard to go to college. Or it's hard to compete for a job. So that's one prong. The other prong is often that there's sort of this fear of what people don't know. And people assume that maybe someone who's blind isn't going to be as capable at a job, or they can't understand if someone who's sighted is looking to hire someone who's blind. If they can't understand, and the sighted person doesn't understand how they could do the job without vision, they assume that someone who's blind also couldn't do the job, which in reality, people who are blind have figured out their own way to navigate through life. And, they have a whole very strong community it'll work with employers. It'll teach people how to work within whatever system exists, and they can do jobs. So it's a lot of people not knowing, really. Because people who are blind, of course, they are just like you and me. They have jobs and families, and they want to work and pay their taxes and be your friend, be your neighbor, etc. It's not really much different, but they do have to do it a little differently. So often it's a lack of understanding in the general process of it all.
You would think, though, that especially now with computers, that there would be so many jobs that the blind could do. Anything telephone, anything computer,
That's not the issue. Yeah, no, they can do them. That's not the issue at all.
I know in the film there was the issue of, I think it was Karina. I can't remember exactly who it was, but there was she got a lawyer, and they were fighting with the school district because the school district didn't give her lessons in Braille or something was it? Am I right on that?
Yeah, there was a number of things happening with Karina. She had a legal advocate who's not a lawyer, but they are more focused. They usually have a legal background, and they're focused in working with students with disabilities. They can navigate this process. They understand the rules and the laws and whatnot. And Karina actually, she wasn't getting her materials on time. So to make that, to make an equivalent for you, like that would be, say someone's in high school, and the entire class is like studying chapter 8 in class of their book that they all read the night before in English. Well, if Karina's not getting her materials ahead of time so that she can read it in Braille, she might have only read through chapter 4 by that class, and then she gets chapter 8 later when it's been converted to Braille. And so the lesson that everybody else is engaged in, she's passive to. And then by the time she reads it, they're already on to chapter 16, and she's then getting chapter 8. So it's hard for her, she wasn't getting her materials on time. There's a lack of communication between the school district and the classrooms. And then in some cases, she wasn't getting her materials. And hers was a long process that stemmed from, when she was younger through obviously what you saw in the film.
It's interesting to me, and I'm just sort of thinking about this concept. Would it make more sense for blind kids to go actually to a school for the blind? Would that be easier for them? In the sense that they're with people of their own?
Because they don't live in a world of people only who are blind. They live in a world, with individuals who are sighted and have other, they live in the world you and I live. They work in the world you and I work in. I don't think that's really a solution, and that is something that people who are blind get questions about. And you can't just keep someone in one small group until they're 18, and then have them transition into a world where they have to interact with people who do things differently, and also the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act guarantees that they do learn in their home school. There's often not every state now, they've actually started closing a few, but almost every state has a school for the blind. And the thing is that's like boarding school. Does every kid need to go to boarding school to learn, or do they want to, or is that the best environment for every kid? No. And then often now, a lot of the schools for the blind they're schools more for kids who are blind but also have cognitive disabilities too. So it's not they're addressing usually not just blindness. They're students who have other issues to address too. So that's not an educational system that most people who are blind would do well in, and it would be a disadvantage to them if they're not in school with peers who are functioning on their same educational level.
Well, I suppose you're right about once that they're 18 and in the rest of the world, they're going to have to adjust to a sighted world. No, I was just thinking about, because, blind schools would be set up for them, where the regular public schools may or may not be, even if they're supposed to be. It seemed that there was issues with her that they weren't. But I suppose it's more of the responsibility of the public schools to get to that level rather than shuffle.
But the thing is they're capable of it. Like Nick's school is a public school. He's the one where his teacher spoke to the camera and explained like how classes work. Their school is a public school. Connor goes to a public school. Like, these are kids who have education that's been well set up for them, and it is within the public school system. So it's very doable. And for Nick, like, his best part of the day was going to band class, or hanging out in the band room with all of his friends that play instruments. He wouldn't necessarily get that similar experience if he went to, a school. Granted, I'm sure they have music classes and stuff too, but it's a different experience. But that's his time to be like a teenager, where he can hang out with kids who live in his neighborhood and kids he can do stuff with on the weekends and, make friends and be social, which is just as important as learning book stuff.
True enough. Where is the film available that people can watch it?
Excellent. Yeah, I get to plug it. Tomorrow, the film comes out on video on demand, which, anybody with a cable box should be able to find it. And it will also be on iTunes, available on iTunes as well. We can definitely we can send you the link and whatnot if you'd like, and then if you want to post it with the show, I'd be happy to do that.
Oh, sure. Yeah, that would be great. Do you have a Twitter or Facebook page that you want to put out?
Yes, we do. We have a Facebook page. It's just, you can just go to Do You Dream in Color, search it out. It's a documentary. I believe the Facebook page is facebook.com/Do You Dream in Color documentary.
Okay.
And you can find us there. Yeah, we post updates there regularly. I can send you that link as well, too.
Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. I appreciate it. Again, I really enjoyed the film. And best of luck. You said you were working on a new film now? You want to tell us about that real quick? Yeah, I'm in post
on another film. Yeah, absolutely. I'm in post-production on my second feature documentary, which is called Skate Girls, and it chronicles the rise of an all-girl skateboarding team based out of Orange County. It's really fun to film. So yeah, trying to finish editing that up shortly, actually.
Skateboarding isn't a big female sport, is it? Come to think of it.
It's it's very male dominated, and there's no such thing really as an all-female team. There was maybe 3 or 4 when I was filming, but there's a lot more interest in a lot more women joining the sport now. And so I think it's a good and inspiring group of young women who are out there sort of pushing their own boundaries and determine, what was always been I'm using air quotes, male sport, is really doesn't have to be male, and they make it beautiful and they make it their own.
Oh, that's super.
There you go.
All right. Well, Sarah, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate it. Best of luck with the new film.
Thank you for having me. Thank you.
Well, that's about all the time we've got for the show today. I want to thank my special guests, Rahn Anthoni and Sarah Ivy. This is Douglas Coleman saying goodbye.